Welcome to Brand on the Rocks, where bold ideas meet clear messaging. I'm your host, Ryan Holck, and this is going to be an On the Rocks episode. In this show, I'm going to talk about building trust with your audience. And specifically, we're going to actually look at and break down a couple current marketing campaigns that are happening in the real world. I'm going to show you what works and what doesn't in terms of building trust with these brands and how you can avoid some of the same traps that they're falling into with your business. So let's get into it. When our girls were young, they both had piggy banks, and each of them had a couple different ones over the years. Some of them were the kind that you painted like at Color Me Mine, and they had fired, and it was, special to them because they had designed it. Others were just, the normal inexpensive ones that you get. Drop coins in the bottom, has a little stopper, or in the top rather, has a little stopper in the bottom. But the interesting thing about it was they loved these piggy banks, or they loved rather the idea of being able to put money in a piggy bank, be able to deposit money. And when the whim hit them to be able to pull some money out, go and buy something at the store that they thought was fun. The problem with a piggy bank is that you never know exactly how much money is in the bank unless you pull the plug and dump it all out. So sometimes they would be like, "Hey, I want to go get something at the store we saw last week." They go pour out their money and find out they didn't have enough money in their bank to actually make the purchase that they wanted. And it's interesting that for a lot of businesses, we have a similar problem. We are living through the midst of a trust recession. If you have not heard that term yet, I suspect you're going to hear it a lot in the coming months and years, because we're at a point where it's not that customers don't still need products. They don't still have problems that need solving. It's that they're hesitant to buy because they aren't sure who to trust. With thousands of marketing messages coming at people each and every week, it's really difficult to be able to quickly sort through the ones you should trust and actually believe and the ones you shouldn't. And if you're like me, you've been burned by a couple brands, maybe multiple times. And so you've gotten a little jaded in terms of who to trust. Our responsibility, or our job really as business owners, is to tell a story that builds trust with customers. And like a piggy bank, every interaction we have with a potential customer or an existing customer, it's either making a deposit or a withdrawal. And the problem is that just like my girls didn't know exactly how much money was in that, would they have enough to make a purchase? We don't always know if we've got enough trust deposited in the piggy bank of our potential customer to ask them for a sale, to ask them to buy our product or our service. So the question that I have for today, and really as I'm looking at a number of brands and seeing who's doing this well, who's struggling with this, because it's the reality of our new economy, is how do you build trust so that when the time is right, there is enough deposited in the trust piggy bank that you can make an ask for a sale, for engagement, for something more. So there are couple brands we're going to look at. The very first one is Maxwell House. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but at the end here this last week, so the end of September, beginning of October, Maxwell House made a interesting public announcement. And I would say that this comes down to the idea that you need to know your audience and you need to know them at a deep level and understand who and what they are, which that idea seems simple. But when a brand that's been around for 133 years, like Maxwell House, misses as badly as they did this week, it says something about the importance for those of us who have brands that are smaller, especially if we're under 5 years and just beginning to really fill up the trust piggy bank for people. What Maxwell House did was they announced a rebrand, which in and of itself doesn't sound horrible. Sounds like, okay, you've been around long enough, maybe that's time. But the premise of their rebrand is where they lost sight of who their audience is. They looked at the world and said, coffee drinkers can't afford houses. Coffee drinkers spend thousands a year at coffee shops. So both of those premises aren't necessarily off or wrong, that there is some truth to both of those. But they took those ideas and said, because of those two things, we're going to rebrand Maxwell House into Maxwell Apartment. And I would encourage you, Google it. It's not landing right. But in conjunction with Maxwell Apartment, they launched a program to sell you a 12-month supply of coffee. And the way, at least, that it was rolled out initially was, we're going to sell you 4 big containers of this all at once at a discount rate, which sounds intriguing. But once again, the problem is it didn't land with people because they failed to take into account who their core audience is. They ignored who actually drinks their coffee. By and large, their coffee is not consumed by 20 to 40 somethings. It is drank by diner patrons who don't actually know what brand is being served. They just know I ordered a cup of coffee with my breakfast. By people who are 50 something and who own their own home already, or they're in community living and fall into the, we don't even know what brand of coffee this is. But the main core person who drinks their brand doesn't fit the demographic of, you can't afford a house, you're in an apartment. They're already far enough along in life that that is not a pertinent issue that they're wrestling with. And the last thing they need is a year's supply of coffee, even if it's a deal. So that's the core piece of where they missed. But they also missed the fact that people who go to a coffee shop are looking for a higher quality coffee than Maxwell House in a can. People who go to a coffee shop are looking for a place of connection and community that fulfills something you're not going to get sitting at home. And honestly, who wants to buy 12 months worth of coffee all at one shot? The reality is they looked at a problem and said, we can solve it, without running it through the filter of what does our audience actually need and how can we meet them where they're at and provide something. Now, I'm all for companies getting creative and trying to find ways to expand their footprint to meet and reach more people. But the challenge is, when you start adding addendum things, all of a sudden you're talking to the wrong people about the wrong things. And when you do that, you immediately stop building trust, because the people who are using your products and services on an ongoing basis all of a sudden go, oh, I don't feel like they're talking to me anymore. Like they just went left and I went right, and there's not a connection here. So if you are in a place where you're realizing I need to build trust, it's our responsibility as a brand manager, as a business owner, coach, consultant, to connect our audience with our story. And one of the very first things you can do when you're starting to think about, hey, how could we expand this brand? How could we develop new product lines? Is you've got to filter through the idea of your audience. And there are some core questions that you can begin with that will help you figure out, are we in alignment? Do we know our audience well enough to know, is this product or service even going to serve them well? So here's 5 questions that you can ask yourself. Who are they? Legitimately write out, who is my audience? What are the ways I serve them? What do they look like? What is their life experience? Like, get granular here. Take some time. Some people call this the avatar exercise, where you actually think about, what are all the things, the ways I could describe this audience. If Maxwell House had done it, they would have said, we serve people who are 50s to 60s with coffee that they can drink at home that's easy on the wallet. That's great. But that description alone would have kept them from this marketing nightmare that they just launched. Okay, so who are they? What's their life experience? What needs do they have? What is going on in their life that they need to solve? What's the problem? How does our solution help them solve that problem? and how can we build trust with them? If you can filter those 5 questions and begin to think about it, you will recognize that your goals and product ideas will come into alignment with who your existing customer base is, rather than building products and services and then hoping somehow you can add them on to the side and that people will engage with you. So that first part is you've got to know your audience. The next thing is you've got to create solutions that they actually need. And I already started to allude to this about Maxwell House and creating a solution to a problem their people didn't even have. But the goal of most businesses, really all businesses, is you want to grow and you need to make an income. You're only doing this because something positive is going to happen out of it. Usually that is financial. But in our pursuit of adding products, adding services, if they don't align with our core audience, it isn't that we're building bad things. We just are diverting attention from the most important things that we could be talking about. Okay. I actually got something in the mail. And if you're watching the YouTube version of the show, I'm holding a flyer that I got recently from Walmart. And this got me thinking about how is it that big brands, multinational brands, can miss that this simple idea of knowing your audience and creating solutions they actually need is oftentimes missed even by the biggest brands out there. And here's the interesting thing. Some time ago, we live in a rural community. We are 15, 20 minutes north of town. And so Walmart Plus was a great service for us because it did 2 things. If we were in town already, it meant we could just stop and get groceries, or that they would actually deliver them to us, which doesn't seem like a lot when the store is 5 minutes away. But when the store is 20 plus minutes away, plus your shopping time, all of a sudden I've gained 2 hours every time I needed to go to the store. So Walmart Plus has been a great thing for us. But the interesting thing about Walmart and really the launching of this whole project and process is that their core belief is to save money and live better. And their audience, if you really think about it, if you walk through a Walmart, is people who are looking for a deal. They're looking for bargain hunters, people who are willing in a lot of ways to trade a mediocre shopping experience for $5 or $10 in savings. They tend to be late tech adopters. They're not forefront people who are looking for the new technologies. They're people who don't want to shop, but they want to save time like us with the pickup, or they're in a place where going to the store is a pain, takes too much time. They'd rather trade it for grocery delivery. And the interesting thing there is that Walmart, in an incredible vote, decided we're going to do this Walmart Plus thing. And it started, if you've got it in your community, maybe you're a part. It started, with order online, show up and get it, or we'll do free delivery. And then they added free shipping, added free returns if they're started online. All of those are great service offerings that connect directly to their core offer of we are trying to give people a budget-friendly way to get their groceries. But where Walmart has started to diverge from this, and in my opinion, they've lost the story and the messaging behind what it is they're trying to do, is they've started adding random things that don't actually add anything to their core offer or experience. And this mailer is exactly about that. So one of the things they've added is gas savings. Now, gas savings is nice if you have a Walmart with a gas station to save 8 or 10 cents a gallon. But the reality is it's been an awkward messaging thing, and they've done a really poor job of actually explaining the offer to people, other than that you can use your app and pay through your Walmart app. Just swipe it and a QR code and it's done. So that one is somewhat connected, but then they added a Burger King discounts. I live in a community of 500,000 people, and I could tell you where there are 2 Burger Kings. Does it really make sense for the brand of Walmart to have a partnership with Burger King, especially when they tend to put McDonald's in their stores, not Burger King's? So it's a messaging disconnect that creates a tension between the audience that they've got to try and meet. And in my opinion, they've not done well. But the next one is video streaming, and specifically video streaming choice. At some point, they decided we're a grocery store, but we're going to add the option, and this is what this flyer is about, for Peacock or Paramount Plus. Now, I'm not opposed to either of those as a business model. We have used both services. The part that's odd about this is they can't figure, as Walmart, how to explain to people that this is an add-on. And they've had now introducing your member benefit video streaming choice. Well, the problem is video streaming is not a core offer. It's not a core offer for them that even connects to their promise of save money, live better. It's just a random add-on. So by adding a random add-on, they're now having to try and message around this thing that is not really connected to their brand. They're struggling to message around it so much that there's pages on their website devoted to trying to explain it. They're sending out bulk mail in the thousands to existing customers, not new customers. They aren't pitching new customers. This is existing customers trying to explain to them the craziness that they have added as a bonus add-on, hoping people will read it, figure out maybe which one they want, and move forward. The problem is it has created a brand nightmare for them, because instead of me as a user going, I'm a Walmart Plus user. The reason I use Walmart Plus is they'll send me my groceries. Someone will show up at my door with my groceries. I can drive up and the groceries are ready and I'm done in 10 minutes. I can get free shipping if I order through the website and it's something that's not in store. All benefits that are great to saving time and money as a Walmart user. Pieces like this send people's minds going, I don't understand how those are connected. Your users having trouble, your ideal customers going, I don't get it. But you as a brand, listen, I understand. We want to add bells and whistles to our products and services. We want it to feel like there's extreme value. And I'm sure this was actually added as a value add and that they've got some sort of back end where they're trying to get a cut of people paying for these services. I get that. But you have limited time, limited budget, limited opportunity as a marketer, as a business owner. Your time is valuable. And when it comes down to your brand and your brand story, you need to be able to speak to your audience with such clarity that they have no question what it is that you offer and how you make their life better. And to be frank, you've got a limited budget to do that with, which means when you add something crazy like this to the equation, all of a sudden you are diverting so much energy from what could be said well, that it's not that you're just losing people in the process. It's that you're diluting your impact with the people you already serve, especially when it's for people who are already connected to your brand. You aren't trying to convince them with another added benefit, with another added service. They're already part of the thing. If you use Walmart Plus, trust me, you use it 2 months and you have more than paid for the 1 year of service. There is no need to keep adding more crazy bonuses on. You've already sold people on that account. All you've done is added marketing confusion. You've put fog in the room, so to speak, that makes it hard to see the people across the room. Now, granted, Walmart started with their audience in mind. They just lost their way at some point. And it's always fascinating to me, as I said at the beginning, to see large brands that are incredibly successful at some things make decisions like this. But confusing messaging is the number one thing that will stand between your customer, your ideal audience member, and a sale. Add-ons are great. Coming up with new ways to bring in customers, fantastic. But you've got to put that alongside the reality of how are we going to message around this so existing customers and new customers also understand. When you go to create new solutions, there are a few things you need to ask to make sure you are lining up who our customer is and what they actually need, so that you're providing a service that's going to be beneficial to them and not just to you. 4 questions for you. First one, is it in line with my core audience and the offerings that we have? Meaning, have we just added this extraneous audience out here on the side, or is it something that aligns with who we're already serving and is adjacent enough that we can get there? Does it solve a problem that our audience actually has? Okay. I did not have a problem of needing a streaming service. Walmart thought I did. They thought I needed a discount at Burger King. Not happening. Don't need it. Okay. Will it help us to better serve our customers? Will adding this provide a way for you to better serve? What will it take to explain it clearly to all involved? And here's the unique thing about that. You've got to be able to explain it not just to your customers, but to your sales team, to your marketing guy, to all your leaders. So when they say, I hear we're doing something unique at the water cooler, everyone understands what's happening. I've been in organizations where the only people who understood what was happening were the couple people who had been in the room and dreamt it up, and they never shared it and they never got the information out. And all you had was questions with inadequate answers. Those 2 things, knowing your audience and creating solutions that they actually need, are the difference between you making deposits in the piggy bank of your potential customers, building trust with them, or making daily withdrawals. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the sales cycle, you need to take leads, build trust with them, and ask them to buy your product or service. And that's only going to happen if you can build trust with them on a regular basis. So begin this week to think about filtering through. When I look at my offers, are they all in alignment with who we actually say we want to serve? Do they meet the needs of those people well? And if they don't, maybe it's time to rethink some of your offers. Maybe it's time to rethink how you talk about those offers so that everyone involved sees the connections, how they all are a part, and how you are uniquely situated in your business to meet the needs of others. If in your business you are having trouble clearly identifying who is our audience that we best serve, or you are looking at your products and services saying, we serve a lot of people and I'm not sure how to focus our messaging to speak to each of those groups with specificity, I'd love to help you. I have a option with a brand clarity session where we can sit down for a couple hours, work through those pieces, work through sometimes the difficult conversation of what is the product supposed to do? What is the service supposed to provide to the end person? Who does it best serve? And how are we going to talk to them? How are we going to put this message out in a form that is clear, concise, and compelling so that people will respond? I'd love to see you be a brand who avoids the challenging brand moments like Maxwell House put them in this week, like Walmart with Walmart Plus has put themselves in, to see your brand thrive and grow. This has been Brand on the Rocks, and a On the Rocks episode where we look at what is and isn't working in marketing and how you can solve it. Until next time, blessings.